Hello everyone. So I want to create a video where I counter a lot of the claims that are made by Professor Richard J. Murphy, a Keynesian economist, about Bitcoin. So he has a new video on YouTube that's titled, "People are claiming Bitcoin is the new gold. It isn't." So this is what his video looks like on YouTube. You can go and search video, watch that video before you watch this one. So I'll jump right in. So the first claim he makes, gold was disastrous for the world economy. So the fact is that one of the periods where we saw the greatest amount of human flourishing, technological progress throughout history was during the Industrial Revolution, the 18th, 19th century. Back then, we were essentially on the gold standard. Gold was the primary money. Silver, to a lesser extent, was used for smaller payments. The point being, there was a great amount of technological progress back then, despite us being on the gold standard. And in fact, we had minimal amount of recessions, and they were not nearly as severe as the ones we've encountered over the past century as we transitioned to a fiat standard with the creation of the Federal Reserve in 1913. All right, another claim that he makes, growing economies require more money. So this is also false. The truth is that in a true free market, the essentially the state of a true free market is deflation. With technological progress, prices should be decreasing instead of increasing. We can see this when the new TV sets are rolled out. There's new technological progress, and so TVs tend to get cheaper over time. Same thing with computers. Of course, we live in a fiat debt-based system, and so deflation, as we should all know, is the biggest enemy of a central bank. And so central banks are willing to do anything and everything in their power to make sure deflation doesn't happen. But the natural state of the world is of the world and in technological progress is to decrease in prices and deflation. And so essentially, inflation is wealth transfer from those who hold fiat currencies, which are obviously currently continuing to become inflated over time at a faster and faster pace. It's a so I said it's a wealth transfer from those people holding fiat currencies to those holding assets, real estate, gold, Bitcoin. All right, another claim. The attempt to fix the value of the US dollar to the value of gold led to the worst recession in US history. So the fact is that the US was fixed to gold much before the Great Depression happened. That was over a century before the Great Depression happened. And we didn't have any Great Depressions then. The Federal Reserve was then created in 1913, and from then on, recessions just became more commonplace. In fact, the Federal Reserve was one of the primary drivers for the for the Great Depression, given that they raised interest rates massively in order to combat rising stock prices in the stock market. And so it just made it not economically feasible to invest in the stock market. Instead, we could have just let the free market decide if valuations were actually too high. But of course, Federal Reserve intervened, and I'll leave it at that. Another claim. Bitcoiners claim that there will only ever be no more than 21 million Bitcoins. In fact, this is true. It's coded, it's hard coded into the Bitcoin protocol, into the Bitcoin software. There will be no more than 21 million Bitcoin. These are the rules. The rules are enforced by nodes, tens of thousands of nodes, which are widely distributed throughout the world. People that are running nodes, they have no economic incentive to dilute their holdings, and so yeah, we can safely assume that there will be no more than 21 million Bitcoin created. Of course, no one's participating Dr. Murphy to participate in the Bitcoin network. He does not have to partake. And so, as we know, the price of Bitcoin will essentially have to adjust upwards with, one, an increase in demand, or two, a decrease in supply. The decrease in supply is already built into the Bitcoin network as well. There's a halving every 4 years. It takes place about every 4 years. And that halving essentially cuts the supply of the Bitcoin that's being issued in half. And so the price essentially has to adjust upwards. Another claim, Bitcoin price of Bitcoin changes rapidly. Well, this is true, and this is because Bitcoin is a nascent asset. It's in its infancy. It's only been around for about 16 years now. Despite this, the market currently values Bitcoin at around $2 trillion. And despite the price volatility, majority of the moves in Bitcoin are to the upside, for anyone who's been paying attention. I'd like to use this as a good example of how volatility does not necessarily imply risk. It just implies that the market doesn't really understand or can't really price appropriately this asset. So Amazon back in the 2000s had multiple major drawdowns of greater than 50% before it became a multi-trillion-dollar company. And so, it was a volatile path, but the fundamentals in Amazon did not change, just as the fundamentals in Bitcoin have not changed. And so, yeah. So Bitcoin is essentially disrupting the money/store value category, just like Amazon disrupted the e-commerce business. Claim, Bitcoin cannot be the equivalent of gold because it isn't the only cryptocurrency in the world. The fact is that money is a winner-take-all game. Bitcoin has proven itself to be the number one cryptocurrency throughout its history since inception. It remains number one. It will continue to remain number one. And this is because Bitcoin has all the features that make it sound money. It's scarce. It has a 21 million coin market, as we mentioned. It's neutral. It's censorship resistant. It's easy to store, easy to send, easy to verify. Unlike all other cryptos, Bitcoin had what we call this immaculate conception, where the creator of Bitcoin disappeared a few years after its introduction to the world. There was no Bitcoin pre-mine, there's no marketing team, there's no one in charge, no one that you can go after, there's no one to hold accountable for. So in contrast to literally every cryptocurrency out there that has a development team, has a marketing team, has a huge insider team that holds a large pre-mine. And then on top of this, Bitcoin has that global brand, as we know. It's the one that's been accepted as a legal tender in countries such as El Salvador. It's the one that's really talked about as a competitor to gold, or as we should say, it's digital gold. Another claim that Murphy makes with the invention of Bitcoin, Bitcoin is worse than gold because gold has at least some uses. This is certainly not true because you actually want a monetary asset to just have one function, and that is to serve as money. A true monetary asset, an ideal monetary asset, only has one function, and that is to serve as money. When a commodity or an asset has other utilities, real estate, for example, gold obviously used in industrial, has many industrial uses. Silver has even more industrial uses, and silver is not better money than gold. In fact, gold is better money because it's quite the opposite. The majority of the monetary premium in gold is secondary to its monetary value, not its industrial uses. Meanwhile, silver has more industrial uses than gold, and therefore serves as a poor form of money compared to gold. All right, another claim: Bitcoin doesn't create value. The fact is that Bitcoin, as I mentioned, is currently valued at around $2 trillion market cap. It's used worldwide, particularly in areas where people lack access to banking, rural areas that remain outside of the traditional fiat financial system. These people find value in it. I find value in it. I think that transferring value from one individual to another, cross-border, without any intermediary, any third party, has a significant amount of value. And the market has decided, at least at current times, this is worth around $2 trillion. It will clearly be worth a lot more than this in the future. As we were able to see in the Canadian truckers' protest, these truckers found a lot of value in Bitcoin, as many of them had their bank accounts frozen, right? Many people fleeing hostile regimes find it to be of much value, as they can take their wealth essentially stored in their brain using 12 or 24 words and just cross borders, fly to other countries without having their wealth confiscated. Another last claim that he makes, or at least the last one I'll touch on, claim: no one accepts Bitcoin as payment. This is completely false, as thousands of merchants throughout the world currently accept Bitcoin as payment. You can actually go to btcmap.org. Reminder, Bitcoin is only 16 years old. It's already being accepted at at about 10,000 or more different locations throughout the world. And so the fact that no one accepts Bitcoin as payment is completely false. And so Bitcoin is currently in its store of value phase. This will take some time to develop, but slowly it will progress to becoming a medium of exchange in a unit of account. So that's all for today. If you like this video, if you like this content, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I should be making more content fairly soon. Thank you.